Part 1. I live a double life. Banker by day, OnlyFans streamer by night. My boss just became my client. Throwaway because, well, obviously. If you know me in real life, no you don't. And if you think you recognize this story, you're wrong. At least, that's what I'm telling myself while I'm sweating bullets writing this. Here's the short version. I work in a mid-sized bank branch during the day. Corporate attire, polite smiles, endless, "How can I help you today?" and passive-aggressive printer jams. But at night, I stream on OnlyFans under a completely different persona. Two separate worlds. Two separate wardrobes. Two separate versions of me. Until last week, when those worlds collided in the absolute worst way possible, my boss subscribed to my account. How it all started. I never planned on living a double life. I started at the bank straight out of college. It was supposed to be temporary until I figured out what I really wanted to do. But temporary turned into 4 years of name tags, overdraft fees, and watching retirees argue about interest rates. 2 years ago, a friend joked that I should monetize my hotness. Her words, not mine, because I was constantly broke and living off instant ramen. I laughed it off, until I didn't. One night, after too much wine and a lot of Googling, I made an OnlyFans account. No face shots at first. Just aesthetic stuff. Then, as the months went by, I got bolder. I built a following. I started streaming live, interacting, role-playing. I became Luna, this confident, sultry, fearless woman who had nothing in common with the girl who counted 20s at a bank counter. The rules of the double life. Rule number 1. Keep the two worlds separate. Different email. Different phone. Never mention my real location. Never slip up and say my real name on stream. Rule number 2. Always clock out mentally before I clock in physically. No thinking about it at the bank. No thinking about the bank during streams. Rule number 3. Never, ever, ever let anyone from real life find my account. For almost 2 years, I nailed it. My coworkers saw me as the slightly sarcastic but reliable teller. My subscribers saw me as a fantasy. Nobody suspected a thing. Enter Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson is my branch manager. Mid-40s, perpetually tired eyes, the kind of guy who wears vests unironically. We're not close, but we've always had a decent working relationship. He's firm but fair. He's also deeply corporate, the type who would probably blush at the word lingerie. So imagine my shock when I checked my notifications last week and saw a new subscriber. Citibanker 44. At first, I didn't think anything of it. The username could be anyone. But then I got a tip. A huge tip, like triple my usual. Along with a message. "Love the glasses tonight. You look just like someone I work with." My blood ran cold. On that stream, I'd been wearing my work glasses. The ones I actually wear at the bank. Panic mode. I didn't sleep that night. I went through every possibility. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe it was someone else at the bank. Maybe I was overthinking. Then he sent another message the next day. "If you ever want to make some extra money off the clock, let me know, winky face." That was the moment I knew. It wasn't just a random subscriber. It was him. The next morning, walking into work felt like walking into a crime scene where I was both the victim and the suspect. I could barely make eye contact with him. Every time he called my name, my stomach dropped. At one point, he came to my desk to ask about a loan application, and I swear he smirked. Not a big, obvious smirk, just a tiny twitch at the corner of his mouth. Enough to make me want to crawl under the counter. The dilemma. Here's the thing, I need my job. It is good money, but it's inconsistent. And the bank is my respectable cover. If I quit suddenly, it'll look suspicious. If I confront him, I risk him denying it and making my life hell. And what if he tells someone? What if corporate finds out? Banks are notoriously uptight about reputation. I kept my head down for a week, hoping he'd just stop. But then came the DM. The DM. Last night, during my stream, I got a message from him, from Citibanker 44. Luna, I have a proposition for you. Something mutually beneficial. We should talk in person. At work. My hands literally shook on camera. I ended the stream early. I couldn't stop thinking about it. What could he possibly mean? A bribe? Blackmail? Some creepy arrangement? Where I'm at now. I have to see him tomorrow. He didn't specify when, but at work means it could be any time. And I'm stuck between two equally terrible options. Pretend I don't know it's him and hope this proposition is something harmless. Call him out and risk everything blowing up in my face. Part of me is angry, furious, actually, that he would cross this line. The other part is terrified because if this goes wrong, my double life isn't just in danger, my entire career is. I'll update after tomorrow. If I survive it. TLDR. I work at a bank by day, do OnlyFans at night under a pseudonym. Just found out my boss is a subscriber, and he wants to talk in person about a mutually beneficial proposition. Send help. Part 2 coming soon, and it's way more complicated than I thought. Part 2, Banker by day, OnlyFans by night. My boss wants to talk. So, remember how I said I'd update after tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow turned out to be one of the most stressful workdays of my life. The morning, I got to the branch early, partly because I didn't want to do the awkward walk in at the same time as my boss thing, but mostly because my anxiety was already brewing like a bad cup of office coffee. I spent the first hour sorting deposit slips and pretending to read emails while my stomach did Olympic-level gymnastics. Mr. Patterson didn't show up until 9:30. When he walked in, he gave me this casual, "Good morning," like he didn't have a digital front row seat to me in lingerie. For the next few hours, nothing happened. He was in his office with the door closed, doing manager things, aka probably making spreadsheets no one will ever read. I started to think maybe he wasn't going to bring it up after all. The summons. Around 1:15, right after I got back from lunch, I saw an email from him. Subject, quick chat. Can you come to my office when you have a moment? My hands went cold. I told the teller next to me I'd be right back, then walked down the hall like I was heading to an execution. The conversation. When I stepped in, he closed the door. That's never a good sign in bank world. Have a seat, he said. I sat. My heart was doing a drum solo in my chest. I'm going to be very direct, he started. I'm aware of your side business. I froze. He didn't say OnlyFans, didn't say Luna, but I knew exactly what he meant. I'm not here to judge, he added quickly. Frankly, I think it's entrepreneurial. That word almost made me laugh. Entrepreneurial. Like I was running a startup out of my bedroom. But, he continued, it occurred to me that we could help each other. I could use some personal content, customized, and in exchange, I can make sure your activities never become an HR issue. The offer. I just stared at him. You want me to produce content, he said smoothly, tailored for me. Nothing you're uncomfortable with. You'd be well compensated. It was such a bizarre mix of business and sleaze that I almost expected him to hand me a contract. Let me be clear, he added. If this isn't something you want, I won't push. But if you say yes, it stays between us. The immediate aftermath. I told him I'd think about it, because my brain needed time to process. I left his office feeling like I'd stepped into a parallel universe where sexual propositions were part of performance reviews. For the rest of the day, I avoided eye contact. I kept replaying the conversation, the way he leaned back in his chair, the matter-of-fact tone. He wasn't threatening me exactly, but the subtext was there. Play along, and I'm safe. Refuse, and who knows? The dilemma intensifies. At home that night, I vented to my best friend Mia, without naming names. She's one of the few people who knows about Luna. "That's blackmail," she said flatly. "It's not technically blackmail," I argued, mostly to convince myself. "He didn't threaten to expose me." "He didn't have to," she shot back. "He's holding your job over your head." She wasn't wrong. But part of me was also calculating. Customized content equals premium pricing. Could I turn this into a win? Or was that just me rationalizing a terrible situation? The unexpected message. The next night, while I was live streaming, a new subscriber joined. Username: Bank Vault VIP. Their first message? "Careful who you trust at work. Not everyone's as discreet as they claim." My stomach dropped. Was this him, playing some weird game? Or someone else entirely? The paranoia. The day after that, I caught one of my coworkers, Jeff, the nosy one from IT, giving me a weird look. Later, I overheard him asking another teller, "Hey, does she have a boyfriend?" "She's different lately." I'm probably overthinking it. Or maybe I'm not. The twist I didn't see coming. Yesterday, Mr. Patterson called me into his office again. This time, he didn't beat around the bush. "I'd like to move forward," he said. "If you're open to it, I have a specific request. But it requires meeting outside of work." I asked why. He just smiled and said, "Because it's not the kind of thing we can discuss here." I told him I'd need details before agreeing to anything. That's when he slid a folded piece of paper across the desk. On it was an address. No explanation. Just Friday, 8 p.m. Where's something read? Where I'm at now. Friday is tomorrow. I have no idea what's waiting for me at that address. It could be a photo shoot request. It could be something else entirely. Part of me is tempted to blow it off. Another part is morbidly curious. And yeah, there's also the fact that if I don't show, he might decide I'm not cooperative, which could mean trouble at work. So I'm stuck between self-preservation and this gnawing need to know what exactly he's playing at. If I go, I'll have my phone on record the whole time. And maybe a friend waiting nearby. But right now, all I can think is, what the hell am I walking into? TLDR. Boss confirmed he knows about my OnlyFans. Offered to compensate me for custom content in exchange for keeping it from HR. Gave me a mysterious address for Friday night with the instruction to "Where's something read?" Part 3 coming soon. And yeah, it's not what you think. Part 3, Where's something read? I did. Now I wish I hadn't. Friday, 5:47 p.m. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the little folded piece of paper like it was a ticking time bomb. The address, the time, the instruction, where something read. It wasn't even the color that bothered me. It was the fact that there were no other details. Not a hint of what to expect. Not even a why. For the past 24 hours, I'd been spiraling through every possible scenario. Best case, dinner and some vague conversation about custom content. Worst case, I wake up in an ice-filled bathtub missing a kidney. I tried convincing myself not to go. I reminded myself that no job, no matter how respectable it looks on paper, is worth walking into a potentially dangerous situation for. But there was this gnawing thing in the back of my mind, curiosity mixed with the low-grade panic of what might happen if I didn't show up. If I didn't go, would he decide I wasn't cooperative? Would the whispers start making their way toward HR? Would I find myself unemployed with a nice little professional conduct stain on my record? The worst part? I didn't know, and not knowing felt like letting someone else hold the steering wheel of my life. So I decided to go. But I wasn't going blind. Step 1. Contingencies. I called Mia. She's my best friend, my OnlyFans co-conspirator, and the only person in my offline life who knows that Luna exists. "Tell me you're not actually going," she said the second I explained. "I'm going," I said. "But you're coming with me." "Sort of," she sighed. "Define sort of." I gave her the plan. She'd have the address, my live location, and she'd be 10 minutes away in her car. My phone would be recording audio from the moment I left the apartment. And if I texted her a single word, red light, she'd call the police immediately. "That's a terrible safe word," she muttered. "It's the actual color he told you to wear. What if you just text me about your dress?" "Mia, focus." "Fine. But if you end up in some back alley being propositioned by dudes with bad haircuts, I'm telling your mom." Step 2. The outfit. I went for something that split the difference between dinner date and don't mess with me. A fitted red wrap dress, knee-length, with sleeves. Heels low enough to run in if necessary. My hair loose, but not overly styled. Underneath, a lace set that was more for me than him. If he thought he was walking into some fantasy scene, fine, but I wasn't showing him anything he hadn't already paid for online. Pepper spray went into my purse, right next to my phone, wallet, and a portable charger. I wasn't going to be caught powerless in the middle of whatever this was. The arrival. The address led me downtown, to one of those restaurants where the valet guys look like they could be cast in a Netflix drama about rich people problems. Dim lighting spilled from behind tall glass doors, and the interior glowed with that expensive amber that makes everyone look 10% more attractive. I was expecting a hotel room, or a private apartment, something secretive. But this was public, and in a way that almost made me more nervous. If he was meeting me here, it meant he wasn't worried about being seen with me. Which meant, what? That he thought he had control? That I wouldn't dare cause a scene? The hostess gave me a professional smile. "Table for 2? I'm meeting someone." "Patterson," I said, lowering my voice on the name. She led me to the far corner, to a booth that was partially screened off from the rest of the dining area by a curb partition. There he was, Mr. Patterson, branch manager, in a charcoal blazer and no tie. He stood when I approached. "You look stunning," he said. "Thanks," I replied, sliding into the booth. My tone was polite, but my hands were under the table, gripping my purse strap like a lifeline. The opening moves. We made awkward small talk for about 3 minutes. Work, weather, some harmless joke about the latest corporate memo. It was surreal, like we were colleagues at a conference dinner, not a boss and employee dancing around a mutual knowledge of explicit internet content. Then he leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "I'm glad you came," he said. "Your note didn't leave much room for declining," I replied. He smiled faintly. "I wanted to talk somewhere we wouldn't be overheard. You could have said that at work." He shook his head. "Not about this. The pitch. I've been thinking," he began. "There's a market for what you do. And you've done well, clearly. But you're playing in the shallow end. There's bigger money out there. Clients who pay for exclusivity. Custom shoots. Private streams. They pay 5, even 10 times what you're charging now." I stayed quiet. "I could help you get there," he continued. "Professional photography. Marketing. Discretion. I'd be a silent partner. You'd keep creative control. I stared at him. You want to be my manager? In a sense, he said. And in return, I make sure your extracurricular activities never become inconvenient for you at the bank. There it was. Not a threat, but not a threat. The hook. And, he added, I already have a client lined up. Very high paying. Tonight is actually about introducing you. Something in my stomach tightened. Client? He smiled again, and then, without looking at me, lifted a hand and gestured toward the restaurant entrance. I turned my head. Walking toward us, with that smug little IT guy half smirk, was Jeff, the third player. Jeff slid into the booth like this was all perfectly normal. Nice dress, he said. Jeff, I said flatly. See, I told him you'd come, Jeff said, glancing at Patterson. You're curious. That's good. Curiosity makes money. I didn't answer. Jeff leaned back. I've been a fan for a while. Longer than you think. My chest went cold. I've got some of your older streams saved, he went on. The good ones. Nothing you wouldn't recognize, but let's just say they're safe with me. For now. My grip on my purse strap tightened. That sounds like blackmail. Jeff raised his hands. Hey, no threats here. Just business. We're giving you an opportunity. Patterson was watching me carefully, like he was studying whether I'd run or fold. The realization. This wasn't a pitch. It was a trap. They'd already decided they had leverage. Patterson had the corporate power, Jeff had the technical receipts. And they both thought I'd be too scared to say no. They didn't know me at all. The exit. I forced a smile. It's a lot to take in, I said, deliberately keeping my voice calm. I need a few days to think. That's reasonable, Patterson said smoothly. Don't take too long, Jeff added. I stood, slid out of the booth, and walked out of that restaurant without looking back. The moment I hit the street, I texted Mia one-word bait. She replied instantly, tell me everything. Where I'm at now. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. But I know one thing. If they think they can corner me, they're about to learn that Luna plays a very different game than the girl who counts 20s at the bank. And Monday? Monday might be my last day in that branch. But when I leave, I plan to take them both down with me.